So a few days ago, I had Wacom S7 over. We were basically checking out blasters, looking at the property and all the stuff that we have in the works. And he brought one of these. This is a Worker Phoenix. He said I could go ahead and take a look at it and review it for my channel. So this is not mine. I am looking to get one. They are really cool. And as you'll see in this review, I'm going to kind of talk about why I really like this blaster. But if you want to check out Wacom S7's review on it, link in the description. But for now, let's jump into my take on this blaster. And as always, let's jump right into the video. So the Worker Phoenix is a flywheeler blaster with 3 separate stages, slanted katana mags, and comes pre-assembled so that you can just grab this thing right out of the package, throw a lipo in it, and take it to a war. No issues whatsoever. Don't have to worry about hours of tinkering and modding. This thing is ready to go. So why is that a big deal? This is an injection molded blaster. What that means is this thing is durable, it's rugged, it's all ready to go. There's no messing around with it. Now that is huge because this is the first of its kind. There's not really anything out there right now that you can grab off the shelf, throw a battery in it, and take it to a war and hit 150 plus FPS off of a flywheeler. We have all the offerings for springers, whether that be your Sita, your Dart Zone Pro, your Game Face Prime, all these other blasters that have very good out of the box performance, but we don't have a good flywheeler. That's why I'm so excited about this blaster. Starting off, we're just going to kind of run down the pros of this blaster, and then we're going to talk about some of the things that are not so pro. So let's get started with just the overall ergonomics. Now, ergonomically speaking, this is going to be kind of specific to certain people because, having this mag feed from the bottom is not really ideal for some people because this makes for a very big, beefy grip, which I personally like. I like the feeling of it. I think that's a cool grip. I personally like this. This is my style right here. The trigger well, this whole guard assembly here is manageable. It is a little bit clunky. For my hand in particular, I feel a little strain here, but it's not bad. The ability to put a forward handle up here with this little Picatinny is really nice. So that gives you a lot of option. Up here is another thing of Picatinny, which is really cool. We have our in-strike attachment point, so that's great. And there's even a sling point right here, which is even better. This blaster is pretty heavy and pretty large to field it as a sidearm, so I would recommend this thing as a primary. So we have 7 motors in here. That is 6 for the flywheels and then 1 for the pusher, and then we have a PMW up here, which allows you to do variable firing. So pretty cool. The drawback is these are small wheels. There's a lot of room in this area up here. I don't know why they chose the smaller worker wheels. They do work fine, but if you have the room to put full-size wheels, I'd actually recommend having this thing built out as a 2-stage normal size wheels. I think that would have been better performance, less power consumption, and better accuracy in my opinion. But this is what we have. These things, taking these to the range and checking them out, they were not the most accurate at, I guess after 50 feet, you kind of get some darts that were kind of wanting to spin off. So this blaster right here is probably more ideal for close engagement. So keep that in mind. You're not going to be sniping with this thing in its current configuration. I'm sure there's some stuff you can do to this to make it shoot a little bit more accurate. Like I said, put in a 2-stage with normal size flywheels. We're going to have to see what kind of stuff is designed for this. If anyone will take up the task of, redesigning cages and whatnot. I personally do not have that ability right now, but I would love to see someone do something for this up here because there's a lot of modularity in this design and there's definitely a lot of room up here. So with all these motors, we have a lot of power consumption. Fortunately for us, they included a pretty good size battery tray. You can fit some pretty decent sized lipos in here, so that's really nice. And if you really needed to, you could easily do a battery stock. Another big pro about this is just how easily the mags release. I mean, these things just drop out with like you don't even have to pull them at all. You push that button and boom, it's out. So very nice there. Love that transition for that mag drop, mag swap. I think that's great. I love the fact that you can throw all your worker stocks on here. I personally love the folding stock. This is my kind of go-to stock. kind of like that. So that fits on there, no problem. And of course, you know, you can put your favorite optic on there. There are side holes on this, which you could put Picatinny on either side. So you can throw a flashlight, you know, or whatever kind of cool tactics you want to throw on there. And yeah, I think it's a pretty solid platform. Now, if you're looking to pick one of these up, they are $160. And if you would like to support my channel a little bit and give me a little kickback, I will provide an Amazon affiliate link. Now, let's talk about the price. The price might seem high. So let's kind of break down the logic of the cost, because I actually think this is extremely affordable. And let me explain why. Now, if you were to try to build something like this. Now, full disclaimer, I am not a big fan of 3-staged flywheel blasters. I think the most you should really go is 2. And a lot of times 1 is fine. You have factors in there with, you know, more motors, more parts means more chance of something breaking down, more power consumption, more opportunity for wear. So I'm not a big fan of it. I do value the power performance that you get, but it seems like a lot of times it's a sacrifice of accuracy. So that aside, you'll probably hear me more be leaning towards 2-stage. I'm a bigger fan of 2-stage. But back to cost. So building out a blaster that has 3 stages of flywheels, you know, you got your pusher assembly in here, you have your shell, and of course, you know, your mag. This comes with the smaller mag. It doesn't come with this long one. And this is a new ecosystem you have to buy into, so you have to kind of consider that in cost. Because me personally, I have a lot of the original Talon mags. I don't have like any of these, so I'm gonna have to buy a bunch of these. So there's that to consider. But for the stock blaster, the stock price, it's coming with everything you really need to get started. I would like to see them include more magazines. That would have been nice, but yeah, when you start really breaking down the cost, you know, of the PMW, of having a full auto kit, of the multi-stage, this thing can be very pricey if you were to build it yourself. You know, like I actually bought all the stuff for a Dominator, and I think I spent like $200 and something. Like it was a lot, and I still got to build it. I still got to take the time to sit down and solder it all up and build it and understand what I'm doing, and hopefully not fry stuff and not cross wires and all that stuff. So that's all time and energy. That's all cost, and you don't have to pay any of that with this one. So if you're looking to just kind of get into the hobby with a decent flywheeler and go to a work because you like flywheels and you're not really into the whole Springer thing, the whole sniper thing, if you just like running and gunning, getting into close quarter combat, like this is actually a great place to start in my opinion. And if you still can't justify the price, you know, you always have your Strife options, and then you can easily throw a couple $100 into a Strife, you know. So there's all that to consider. It just depends on what you want to do. If you're wanting to, and let's say I'm running a kind of a Nerf arena and I'm a businessman that, you know, just wants to get a bunch of cool blasters, I'd probably opt to just buy 10 of these, you know, or 12 of these. This is way easier than me buying, you know, a bunch of Rapid Strikes with a ton of kits and a ton of everything else and build those things or pay someone to build them. That's a ton of money. So in that regard, this thing is great. So with all the rants about how much I love this thing, let's talk about what I don't love about it. Obviously, I touched base a little bit about power consumption. Having this many motors in here, it's gonna really suck a lipo dry. That is something to consider over, you know, something like maybe just a modified Strife with 1 stage and that kind of setup with maybe not full auto. That type of blaster, that kind of setup is gonna last a lot longer than this one, so that's something to consider. But I think my main gripe with this is, number one, I believe the accuracy could have been better. And I did some accuracy checks without the attachment, and yeah, it just seemed like maybe it's the ammo I'm using, you know? Maybe I have to use the worker darts, but I was using the Adventure Force short dart, which I'm a big fan of. I thought about possibly testing with maybe cut down waffles or even cut down men gun. I think a cut down men gun might be pretty good in here. The second thing is FPS. Now, 150 plus is good. Like that's very good. It's over the cap for my local games. But when you look at this thing going through 3 stages of flywheels, it kind of makes you wonder, like, you know, you have that 3 stages and it's only hitting up to like 100 and I think it maxes off around 170, I want to say, but yeah, it's just something to consider. So not a huge problem, but it is something worth mentioning. Secondly is the fire rate. I feel like the fire rate could be a little faster. When you turn this PMW all the way to max, I'd expect for that magazine to just be instantly gone, you know, because we're kind of used to speeds of like, you know, 12, 13 rounds per second. And this thing shooting at max, it's only about, I'd say about 6 or 7, which still is good, mind you. I mean, that's not horrible. You're still gonna be very effective on the battlefield. Full disclosure, I opened this thing up and tried to address these issues that I had. I actually changed out the PMW because I had a different one that seemed a little bit more beefy. That didn't, same fire rate on that. I even went into the pusher motor and tried to change that out. It turns out that on the pusher motor, surprisingly, the whole thing is metal. I opened it up, it's all metal gears, and they actually have kind of a press-fitted stamped type of gear onto the motor, and I didn't have much luck taking that off. Now, if you're looking to upgrade the pusher motor in here, I recommend getting one of those small gears that is, I think they make small nylon gears that you can put onto the motor. So I think the other one would work if you put that nylon little gear onto the motor. However, I'm not too sure on the effects of using a nylon gear touching with metal teeth. I have a feeling that the nylon gear would probably get worn out faster. So keep that in mind. There is the concept of, and I'm not certified a mechanical engineer by any means, so I kind of put this up for discussion, but we have an assembly in here that is a little bit different than our traditional type of pusher system. On our traditional pusher systems like you would find in the Dominator and some of the Strife kits, so you have a return spring that's constantly trying to pull back that pusher to its reset position. In this system, it's all linkage. So for the pusher to retract, it actually has to do its full rotation, its full revolution, and then resets it back. So there is no slap back, I call it slap back because it's like as that gear, you know how it loses its teeth and it pulls that pusher back, it basically just slaps it back instantly. You don't get that with this. So what you're having is a split second, like a split moment in which you had on a normal system that gets those higher fire rates, you get instantaneous reset, whereas here it's a little bit slower because it's got to make that full revolution for that mechanical linkage to reset. So I believe that's where we're losing our fire speed. Now that can be addressed with a higher RPM motor, and that's kind of what I was trying to do in there. So didn't have much luck, put it all back together. Unfortunately, I didn't want to dive too far into it because this is Qualcomm S7's blaster, and I didn't want to like, you know, break it or modify it too heavily. I did get a lot of good information from in here, and just thought I'd share that with everyone because a lot of people are doing reviews on this, but we haven't seen too much internal stuff. So another thing to consider when talking about cons on this one is that if you want to run this thing as a sidearm, it's probably not going to be a great sidearm for you. It'd probably be better to get yourself a Woozy or even a Lepus. Which also leads us into the next thing I want to talk about for a con, and that is the performance of it is high enough to where you can't really use this in an HVZ. So unless we can kind of do some variable kind of, if we could maybe modify these to not hit as hard, I do not recommend throwing a 2S LiPo in here because this whole assembly, this whole system here needs a good powerful LiPo. So we can't really step it down, I don't think. Correct me in the comment section if you think I'm wrong. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, but I believe there's not really a great way to downstep the FPS on this besides maybe pulling out some stages. In that regard, then that puts this in your high-powered range. So it's one of those things where the performance of the blaster is going to be kind of not great when you start to kick it up to that high performance line. Like a lot of clubs will kind of put that at 150. So now when you're in the 150 plus games, you're now fighting with people that are using, you know, high powered springers that are hitting around 200 FPS accurately, you know, like your Lynx or your Talon Claws or Caliburns, Dart Zone Pros. That's going to be a pretty difficult battle to be in with this platform. So it's worth mentioning. So if you want to run this in that type of environment, I'd highly recommend doing some tinkering in here, working on the accuracy, working on the FPS. We can probably get more FPS out of this, and you know, work with various scars and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's just something I want to put out there. So it kind of puts us in a strange spot, you know, because I know, you know, if this thing could like dial down to 100 FPS, I think it'd be great for an HVZ. but at the same time, it's like, I don't think its performance is high enough to be super competitive in like, you know, high FPS battles. So in conclusion, can I recommend the Worker Phoenix? I would say if you are a flywheel type person and you love your flywheelers, I say definite. I think this is a great place to kind of tinker and perfect and get used to this platform. I think it's a great platform. I actually was not really looking to get one of these until Wacom S7 brought one over and let me check it out, and now I'm actually gonna have to buy one. So if that speaks to anyone, I mean, I'm actually going to you know, go out and spend my hard-earned cash on one of these. But then again, I am a flywheel type guy, so I love flywheelers. If you are not into flywheelers and you want to talk about precision accuracy and high-powered long-distance shots, I would probably stray away from this one, because those type of loadouts, like, you would want to run this as a sidearm, and I don't think this is a good sidearm. So, but that's just my 2 cents. So take it or leave it. Well, I'm DrFlux. I want to thank you for taking time with me today and checking out this really cool blaster. Let me know in the comment section, do you think this is a dawn of a new era? Is this the first of many to come high-powered flywheel blasters that we're going to see from various companies? I really hope so, because it would be great to see other companies like, you know, the DartZone Pro, if they released a flywheel or something that could compete with this. I mean, I would love to see that type of competition. So let me know in the comment section what you think. I obviously am a flywheel guy. I love flywheels, but I know a lot of you probably prefer your springers, and that's fine. But for all you flywheeler people out there, let me know, is this something that you really want to grab? Once again, I want to thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, happy foam flinging.